name is Alexander Enriquez. I'm here with.
Jaden Anderson.
Samran Big Ural Bayo.
The title of our presentation is The Curse of Success, and we'll present on New Gen Systems by Scott McClure. So let's look at some innovation. I'll have you please look at the images closely. For a few seconds, analyze them. What do you see? I promise it's not an eye test or a trick. Here's a hint. The previous images and these images are the resolution that we'll be presenting on today. In the late 80s, standard laser printers were low resolution, for example, 300 dpi, dots per square inch. At the time, laser printer technology was less than 10 years old. To essentially get professional quality, you needed expensive linotype presses, for example, this one.
So Scott McClure, he was an engineer and product leader with industry experience at IBM and Seagate. He was a very key executive at New Gen Systems. New Gen Systems was founded in 1987 in Fountain Valley, California, and their goal was to set out to solve a critical problem for the then fledgling desktop publishing market. At the time, laser printer technology was less than 10 years old. The standard laser printer performed at low resolution, which is 300 dpi, and lacked the fidelity required to compete with high-end, expensive linotype presses. NewGen's innovation was a patented technology that could emulate high resolution, like 600 plus DPI, using lower cost 300 DPI hardware. This specialized firmware was disruptive in the publishing industry. Not only was it simply the best high-resolution desktop laser printer in the market, but it also offered faster processing than competitors, better expandability, compatibility, and most importantly, an affordable price point. This high resolution was intended to be a game changer, allowing small businesses to produce professional quality print runs affordably. Readers and users of the newspaper, newsletter, etc., at the time could easily tell the difference in printing quality. For example, consumers using spreadsheets demanded clear rows that made reading underlying data easier, similar to green bar paper. Consumers were highly aware of printing quality differences. Delivering a print that offered quality, high resolution, and affordability was the key opportunity NewGen sought. Their main competitor, LaserMaster, were disruptive in this niche within a niche. Breaking away from complex and expensive linotype presses, laser printers were a great innovation at the time and the forefathers of the technology we have today. NewGen's powerful high-res machine was at the forefront and its firmware was the main advantage.
And so crucially, NewGen was hearing from the general computer resellers that essentially this product will sell in the general computer market, not just the desktop publishing market. NewGen's target market was initially like mentioned before, the larger publishing market that required significantly better printing quality, but potentially was much broader than that. During this time, Scott McClure, a key product manager for NewGen, recognized that if they slowly expanded into the general computer market, they would reach a market that was easily 10 times the size of the publishing market. Printer sales far exceeded expectations, and the newer, lower cost models were developed. The company soared. This became a race against the industry giants like, as you may know, Apple and HP to capture the rapidly growing computer user base. Computers at this time that were developed by competitors had a higher market budget and presence at the time, but NewGen did make and have an existing market presence both in the general printing market and the small publishing market. The leadership at NewGen Systems had to respond to this market shift, and essentially, with this higher resolution, they were able to compete with more expensive and less well-known. And going over some of the options, one of the options that we have, or NewGen had at the time, was to go with the niche war, as we call it. They would essentially have to shrink back and continue competing with the desktop publishing market by lowering prices and engineering more powerful machines to capture laser com- a company called Laser Mark Master, which was the main competitor at the time, and this would be the safer option. Number two, completely pivot markets. They would essentially expand to the general of computer users looking for high-end and high-resolution laser printers, combating HP and Apple. Third, that they would essentially gamble on diversifying their whole production system by pivot pivoting entirely and using their brand to launch monitors and PC cards, leaving printers behind.
Stakes and considerations. Nugent's decision came down to major risk versus rewards calculation. The CEO wanted the company to become large, profitable, but very possible direction came with serious consequences. The rewards of competing aggressively were attractive. New Gen could capture more market share, gain strong financial returns, and reinforce its reputation for technological innovation. The general office market was growing rapidly, so success there could transform the company. But the risks were just as significant. HP and Apple were financial gains with far large budgets and global distribution. The capture the computer market itself was extremely volatile, which meant technology leadership could disappear overnight. Exactly what happened when native 600 dpi printers appeared. Vendor loyalty was also low, so resellers could quickly switch to cheaper or better known brands, and any attempt to grow too quickly risked stretching new gens resources beyond what they could handle. These competing pressures created a turning point where the company had to decide which strategic path offered the best chance of survival long-term success. New Gens reached a major turning point in its business. Their technology gives them an early advantage by making 300 dpi printers look like 600 dpi printers. But once HP and Canon entered the market with the true 600 dpi printers at a lower cost, New Gen's competitive edge disappeared almost overnight. This created serious pressure for the company. They could try to stay in the large general office market, but doing that would require lowering prices and spending far more on marketing to compete against huge companies like HP. That strategy came with a real risk of losing money quickly. Their second option was to pivot to the high resolution publishing 90. This market was smaller, but New Gen could continue with their advanced technology, offering higher DPI solutions and avoid direct fight with HP. The trade-off was giving up a market that was 10 times larger. The third option was diversify outside printers entirely. This could open new opportunities in the fast-growing computer market, but it required major investment and came with a high uncertainty. This decision mattered because the direction they choose would define whatever new Jane state competitive focus on a smaller specialty market or completely reinvented the company. So, question is, what path should the executive team choose? Should they stay in the general office market, pivot to the publishing niche, or diversify into the entirely new products?